Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday, and I hope everyone had a really nice Thanksgiving. It's the Friday after Thanksgiving, and CJ, did we get almost 1,000 downloads of the Perry report?
Yes, we
Wow,
did.
I guess people are interested.
Now, if that many people would subscribe to this show and to the Weekend Flush, we'd be making flush.
Yeah. Uh, I we covered about a little bit less than the first half of the report, and we said we finish a lot of the rest of that report is just a rehash of the stuff that we gave you on the last show. It's this private investigator asking other people about most of these incidents, predominantly the dumping of toxins and chemical wastes and the copper wire, etc., and also a lot of fraudulent billing practices. And so it's different people that are fundamentally saying that they were aware of it or they were involved in some of these incidents. And I know there was a little consternation on some of the people whose names were in there, but they weren't in there during their testimony, but they were in there because they were driving the truck during one of these incidents or something like that. So, but it's going to all come out anyway because we will be getting at some point in time. I know they're going to delay it as long as possible, but unredacted, the unredacted version, and so I just want to begin, and I'll turn it over to you, CJ, by reiterating when I read this report, I'm extremely disturbed by what I read it, and not only about what John Perry did, which obviously, so, there are some serious crimes that have been committed here, and you know, fraudulent billing, all with the taxpayer money. But what disturbs me more than anything else is, I know our illustrious mayor likes to say that he inherited this. That's right, you did, but you didn't do a damn thing about it. You didn't do anything about it. You knew it because it's in a report that you were told about some of these things. You not only didn't do anything about it, but there is alleged. I've received some phone calls since the last show that you were fully aware of it and you actually authorized the capping of the pit with all those hazardous materials in it. That's a crime. That's a crime. You were also informed of the billing issues, which are on I believe, page 14 or 15 of the report. But since nearly 1,000 people downloaded it, you can read it for yourself and highlight it uh, and look at it. What concerns me is that I also received a few phone calls from people that are alleging that this could be an extremely large amount of money, up pressing nearly $1 million of misappropriated funds and missing funds and things like this. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. Let's see what the city council does. I thought you said when you ran you were transparent, which was a lie, and you're honest, which now is a lie because what you're doing here is violating the law. You didn't report hazardous materials being dumped in a city that you're the mayor of. You didn't investigate and bring to justice people who have embezzled money, who have wasted taxpayers' money. There's numerous references to people doing work on vehicles at DCM. But then again, Paul, you know damn well there was somebody in the school department that was doing auto work when he was at work. You even gave him a supervisor's job and a pay raise and told him to stop. So this is the thing that concerns me, CJ, that it's John Perry did some things that he should have been prosecuted for. He should have been prosecuted for. And they said they uphold the law. He took an oath, swore to the Constitution to uphold the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the city ordinances, the United States laws, the law of the United States, and they ignore it. Nobody suffers any consequences in the city of Fall River. You do the nasty at Durfee, you don't get fired. They put you on paid administrative leave for over a year. You abuse employees in the school department, they let you stay on for an extra 8 months and squash everything you did. So nobody gets to see something like this report. Cover up, Coogan. You violated the law. And taxpayer money, I mean, look at some of these things. $30,000, $40,000 in a chunk. There's not enough. We got this much left. Find something to do the work, even if it doesn't exist. Just say you're doing it so we can blow this money. This is taxpayer money. This is our money. This is our money. That is not only unconscionable, it's malfeasance on your part. You are sworn to be a fiduciary of this city and ensure that our money is spent correctly. But you didn't. You don't, and you never have. All you've ever done is cover up all this kind of stuff that's costing us. I want to know how much money we're going to blow on all the lawsuits from Malone. We never get any word from anything, and 14,000 people showed up and 40,000 didn't. 40 to 45,000, depending on anything. And this is what you get when you don't show up, people. This is what you don't get. So now over to you.
What's interesting is the fact that when the Malone situation occurred, the school committee said, or I should say, I believe it was Bruce Assad, who was corporate counsel, the money to pay these lawsuits will come out of the school department budget. That's still Fall River taxpayer money. I guess they don't remember that point, that they get their money from us. But who am I? Another thing about this Perry report, a lot of people, the names were redacted, as many of you will know because you've read it. But there were some names that were not redacted in the report because they were driving a truck, or they were this, or they were that, and the other thing, whatever the case may be. Those people may be or should have been entitled to whistleblower status. And they would have been protected from this. And then their names could have been redacted. And they could have been protecting themselves. Because if these names come out, and they will come out, there's no question about it, they will come out. People are going to think twice before they come forward to report a supervisor or wrongdoing or misappropriations to the city. Because anyways, it doesn't matter. You report all the misappropriations you want. Who cares? Put your head down, keep your mouth shut, and they'll forget about it. It's sad that we live in this type of situation in this city. And I always remember, because he said it in front of the city council, he said it on his campaign trail, I follow the law when it's beneficial to him. But I follow the law. Like when the city council hadn't acted on the budget in the time he wanted it, 45 days, I follow the law. And this is what happens. See, when they made this charter, they made it so it benefited the politician, not that it benefited the people. I think if they decide to rewrite this charter, which there is a group already getting together to have the charter rewritten, because even this last review committee that they had was useless. Okay, they're working for the politicians, and they will always work for the politicians as long as the politicians appoint the people on these boards. But I think that the next bastion of change for the charter should be, if the city council doesn't act in 45 days, the city doesn't have a budget. If the city council doesn't vote for something, they don't have it. If the mayor decides to send something down and the city doesn't act on it, you don't have it. The way it's supposed to be. We shouldn't have to spell it out. But obviously we do. And that's the problem. And one of the things that I think we really need to spell out in the charter is that once an item has been presented by the mayor to the city council for approval, if it is declined, it cannot be represented to the city council. That's it. Because again, guess what's coming up on the agenda for Tuesday? The Bank Street Armory. The Bank Street Armory. Now, I've spoken to a couple of city councilors, and they're not sure if they've got the votes to sell it or not. But I think that if they don't have the votes to sell it, Paul's going to wait and then reintroduce it after the new council takes effect. Because then he'll have Paul Hart, he'll have Laura Washington, he'll have Linda Pereira. Although Linda wants to keep the Bank Street Armory, but Brad Kilby, he'll have those people. And as long as we have politicians on the city council who represent the mayor and not the people will always get screwed, and you won't enjoy it.
Okay,
There's the Pepto.
back to the report. Yeah, you're right. They were entitled to whistleblower, but let's face it, CJ, you read this report. You can figure out who's doing the interviews if you read closely, because they're talking about incidents and they're talking about people in the interview, and then you find out that you can go back and you can look at some of these things and say, well, I know who this one. I know, because what they're talking about, you can pretty well guess what most of them are. But as I said, I'm interested in why the mayor is derelict in his duties to enforce the law, and I want to know all these people who got all their things picked up. We still have over 260, I believe, private entities getting their trash picked up in violation of city ordinance. I follow the law. Coogan is violating a city ordinance, and he got a resolution to tell him to enforce the law, and he's ignored it. And there was another resolution put forth again to reiterate it, and that thing I don't think ever saw the light of day. But the reality is, this city, I want to know who the connected people are. I want to know who got their houses cleaned up. I know that Gallagher it says in this report that Gallagher was using a city backhoe to build a swimming pool in his yard. Maybe they can use the backhoe to break into the prison so he can escape. I don't know. Maybe they can use a city vehicle to break him out so he can come back, get his job back, and get a pay raise. This is what I want to know. As a taxpayer, as somebody who's been paying taxes for a very, very, very long time. You're pissing my money in a hole. You're not spending it on the fire department, the police department. You're not giving it to teachers in programs to help educate. You're giving out pay raises to your friends. You're letting people misappropriate money, work, and you condone it. You knew damn well about what was happening in the school department, Paul. I know you did, because you know the guy. And he even gave him a job, a supervisor's job in your reorganization. You're as corrupt as I've ever seen in that office. But you hide everything. That's why you're not transparent. You think nobody's going to find out, but ultimately we do find out. I want to know who got their vehicles worked on. There's a few names in here on who got their vehicles worked on, but I want to know just how much service that my tax dollars are providing connected people. And in January, the new council is going to get a lot of complaints, because I'm going to tell you something. We're going to start filing complaints about how much money we've spent paying for private trash, because we're paying a bill to get rid of that trash. And we've been paying it for your entire tenure as mayor. I want to know how much money has been stolen from this city as a taxpayer. You don't think we have a right to know how much of our taxpayer dollars, as CJ said? Bruce Assad, the school department's going to pay for it. The school department doesn't have any money. They got our money and the rest of the state's money, because they get money from the state too. So everybody else in the state should come down here with pitchforks and torches. Because I'll tell you what, I've had it with this crap. This report shows how important it is to get information. That's why the judge said we are entitled to this information. Because our Constitution says, in part of the first Article 4, we are the government, and in part of the first Article 5, it says that you are answerable to us at all times, and you are merely our substitutes and agents. You are not our bosses. You are not the king. The council, if the council goes along with this and doesn't demand, we find out where all the money was blown, they are accessories, and they are violating their sworn duty as fiduciaries and as elected officials to be our agents and to be fiduciarily responsible. We've got case law on it. We've done it on the show. We've sent it to the council, and they don't give two shits about it. You elected me, hey, right there. Come see me in 2 years. I'll buy you a chow mein sandwich. That's all they do. So you 40,000 lazy, I can't even finish that sentence.
SOBs.
Get to the polls in the next election. We got a presidential election. Maybe some of them will get to the polls. Throw these people out. Let's see what these cons. We know that Paul Hart's going to be a rubber stamp. I still remember the picture of him standing at the Maplewood Little League right next to Paulie when he's running for council with the little thing attached to his head going. Yeah, Paul, what do you want now? What do you want, Paulie, pal? Just like he did on a council, the school committee. He's back on a council. So you know something? This is my money. And I'm fed up with paying. And it's going up, and it's going to go through the ceiling. The taxes are going to go right into the stratosphere. Diamond, Durfee, all these jobs, ARPA money gone. We are going to be in receivership, and these people don't give a damn about it. But I do. Because I was paying taxes when some of these counselors were in kindergarten, maybe weren't even born. So I'm going to just close this tirade with reading the end of this report. This concludes at this time, and unless further instructed, my interviewing of city employees with it says within, I think it's within It might be a typo. The DCM, the Parks Department, and the Cemetery and Tree Department. It can be said that after speaking with all the above employees, the Parks and Cemetery Departments have the least interaction with John Perry. Of course, they have their own supervisor. It appears that the DCM at least have the most exposure to Perry. That's kind of okay, but this is the stuff. It can also be said that the majority of employees at the Lewis Street feel that the morale there is extremely low. Most of all, employees appear to be walking on eggshells on a daily basis, and speaking with them, it was also heavily repetitive that John Perry was a very difficult person to speak with. He is not a, quote, people person, unquote. He was a, quote, ruler, unquote, who did not accept anyone's opinion, would not accept no for an answer, constantly berated those working under him, verbally, sometimes physically abused or went after employees, and why wasn't he disciplined and terminated long ago? That's my question. In an assaulted man, he was referred to as a terribly, I think it's terrible, bully, and totally inadequate boss. I would suggest that a large majority of employees at DCM felt that the workplace was constantly under a black cloud with John Perry as boss. So I'll stop right there. There's only two short more sentences, but with all these things supposedly, this is his opinion, which should be just about factual. This is what he's concluding as an investigator, I assume. But remember, every time somebody commissions a report, an investigation, or a study, it always comes out for the person who's paying the report, for the report. So they want to get rid of Perry, so this guy's going to fashion a report. And also, if it was that bad, where was HR? Why didn't they just get up and say, to hell with it, we're going to the city council? Although they did send a letter about Perry years ago, nothing was done. And a lot of those councilors had received that letter complaining about him years ago, and didn't do a damn thing like they always do. Nothing, okay? So this is the thing that disturbs me about stuff like this, because they're talking about this stuff, and it's been going on. You're right, he inherited some of this, but this has been going on through all kinds of mayors. So it means the city and the city employees are always under duress. And you know who I blame? I blame the government, HR, and their unions. Where the hell was the union? Oh, getting a $19,000 pay raise or something like, who knows? I don't know where they were. But I can tell you one thing. When I was in charge of the union, the employees were going to have a good work environment, or the city was going to be on notice, and we were going to be doing there was a lot of problems. So this is inexcusable that this has been allowed to go on this long and through 2 terms of the Coogan administration. Now I'll finish. I also state that most of all employees were sincere. Well, that's your opinion. It's not really a fact. And I believe honest in their comments to me during the interview. Many, quote, rumors, unquote, that most are aware of were verified by those involved who had witnessed those rumored incidents. Well, the information above is elaborately collected. I don't really like that adjective, but by note and transcribed by me to the best of my ability. Nothing has been modified or added by me. Yeah, but it was modified by you because you're giving your kind of opinion here. So technically you did modify it to a degree. These are the words and comments I heard from the employees during the interview, but at this you talked about your opinion of their comments. So you did actually put in your 2 cents, which I don't really care because I don't pay attention to that stuff. But the reality is that this investigation is nothing more than a confirmation of what we all knew was going on in the city of Fall River before Coogan and during Coogan. And like the mayors before him, they did absolutely nothing until they absolutely had to. And when they did, most of the time they covered it up, paid people off, and let people who committed crimes leave this city without being held accountable for stealing, in some cases, taxpayer money, for misappropriating taxpayer money. And that is a crime on their part, because they are malfeasant. Look up malfeasance in the dictionary if you don't know what the word means. And it is predominantly used for public officials. And they also, if you need the case law, we did post it at one time, the case law about the fiduciary responsibility of a government to their taxpayers. So this report only just reinforces how screwed up this city is. Nobody tracks the money. No, and by the way, CJ, I don't know if you mentioned it. I'm going to turn it back over to you. But the word forensic was used 3 or 4 times in this report. How this
Correct.
investigator felt things should be done forensically on some of these things. Well, join the club, pal. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, because I'll tell you what, I mean, this is just, it just goes to show that we don't have a government, we have a cabal.
Isn't that the truth? But you know what's interesting is Paul paid for this investigation, and his investigator said that we need a forensic audit. Okay, we've had a few people on here which says forensic audit, forensic audit. If you were paying attention to here we go. Here's one right there. Here's another one. Forensic audit. I mean, people want a forensic audit. We keep saying it. People want it, but we don't get it because we're only the taxpayers. We're only the ones that pay the bills. So why should we get what we want? And why should we get any accountability? And as Louis Lima said, bring accountability back to them. Come on, it's time. All right.
And you're
Look
right,
what's happening
CJ.
Tuesday, and you'll
You
know.
said, why should we get anything? Because we're the taxpayer. We good because it's the law. They
That's
have
right.
they have a legal obligation to ensure that our tax money is used properly, and they never do. And that's why they are criminals. They are violating the law. You know, the reality is that these people have an obligation to investigate these things, not just sweep them under the rug, pay the guy off, and now it had to come to a head. But you know something? This has happened. You know, it happened here. It happened with Malone. It's happened with that. Who knows what happened with that head of security? There's so many of these incidents in Fall River, and it's our money. It's our, like you said. Listen, I can guarantee you, if somebody stole $30,000 out of Paul Coogan's bank account, or one of his campaign finances, they would have the FBI, the DOJ, they would call Biden, they'd call everybody. Everybody be on this, baby. They'd be like Trump, they'd be in court on 75,000 different violations. But when it comes to the poor beleaguered taxpayer, nobody cares about how people rob our money. We just turn our head and ask for more.
Well, that's you're absolutely right, and there's no question to argue it. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday.